Saudi Arabia in the 1920s was the place to be if you wanted to be in oil. And the Athabasca Basin is the place where you want to be if you want to be in high grade, very strategic uranium deposits. So back in 2004, that's how that name came around. The Athabasca, the Saudi Arabia of uranium.
In the 1990s, the major mining companies in the gold space were finding 1.4 ounces of gold for every ounce that they mined. In the early 2000s, the first decade of this century, it was down to 0.7. The last 6 years, it's down to 0.3. And as a result of that, with less reserves and less discoveries, they're forced to go out and either try and buy new assets or see their production profile drop.
Our two biggest assets are in Nevada and Saskatchewan. They're normally ranked in the top 2 or 3 mining jurisdictions in the world, so low political risk. Very, very strong balance sheet. You'd have to say probably the strongest balance sheet of our peers.
At the 2018 Vancouver Natural Resource Symposium, and I'm joined by Doug Casey, founder of Casey Research. Doug, great to see you again. How are you doing?
Great, Albert. Thank you very much.
So I enjoyed your talk today. I dragged you onto a Bitcoin panel earlier this week, and then you did a talk that was sort of related to Bitcoin, and I think it resonated well, and it's a novel idea, and that is that the whole crypto movement, Bitcoin movement, is going to introduce a whole new generation of people to the flaws of government paper, and these people are going to be addicted to these alternatives. And of course, one of them is Bitcoin. There's several derivatives of Bitcoin and competing currencies. But that's what sort of sets the stage for an introduction to gold at some point down the line, which I find is very fascinating. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's pretty much, as you said, Albert, it's that you've got millions and millions of people that are involved in these cryptos. They're mostly young people that are computer literate, and none of them have ever thought about the nature of money or economics or what causes inflation. It's just not something you think about, most people. But now that they have to make a choice between Bitcoin and the dollar, and they can see the advantages of Bitcoin, and then it's even better when we're talking about people from third world countries. 75% of the people on the planet live in countries with blocked currencies that have marginal value in the country, kwaches, pulas, dirhams, dongs, and no value outside the country. And the banks are unusable and unreliable. And people see, these young people all over the world see that, wow, I don't have to try to save these worthless currencies or scramble for dollars. I can buy Bitcoins or Ether or something, and maybe it'll go up, and I'm not trapped in this country, and I don't have to use the banks, and it gets them thinking of alternatives, and they're going to stumble upon gold for many reasons, because as a money, Bitcoin is better than the dollar, but not better than gold. So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel similarly. Situationally, it may be better in some cases. I mean, they have different applications. Just like gold and silver can both be transacted as money. They have different properties that lend themselves better in certain situations. What I want to ask.
Well, and of course, you need a smartphone to deal with Bitcoin, and
that would be one of those situations.
Yeah, and you only need your hand to deal with the gold coin.
Right. And actually, that's the other thing, is there's always the good and the bad. So you have encryption, right? You have technology, you have, pocket computers, essentially. They're enabling a lot of things. And it's enabling the complete move away from hand-to-hand commerce, physical money, to electronic money. And that's something is going to happen, whether it's cryptos or whether it's debits, government money, government crypto. That trend is definitely underway, and it's not necessarily a good thing, right? And certainly from the convenience factor, it's good, but getting away from hand-to-hand transactions eliminates privacy.
It's true. it's going to obviate some aspects of personal relationships, because a lot of people only have relationships with other people indirectly through their computers. But I'm a believer in what Ray Kurzweil says about the singularity being near and the growth of all technologies, computer tech, artificial intelligence, but now genetic technology, bioengineering, artificial reality, and nanotech will be the really big one. And in 20 years, I really believe that the entire nature of life on this planet could change. And we'll actually, the day is going to come, hopefully within our lifetime, so we can take advantage of this, that you can trade in your old body, which is a deteriorating system, the second law of thermodynamics rules, for a new one. And so everything's going to be different. So these currencies are just part of a much bigger trend of the whole world changing. I think they're here to stay. Maybe not Bitcoin 1.0, but maybe Bitcoin 2.0 will be much more usable.
One thing that won't change necessarily is sort of the human psyche. So we'll have all these new and grand toys. Mankind will still be mankind, right? We'll still make the same mistakes. We'll
very sad.
So, what's the world going to look like when we have the ability to extend life? I mean, obviously that will be dominated by people of power, people of influence. I mean, we already have leaders that can remain leaders almost for life, right? As opposed to elected leaders. What happens when they can?
Chimpanzees, yes.
What happens when they can live forever too?
Yeah, this is a real double-edged sword, because of the way the world has structured itself over the last 100 years. You know, there's that old saying: the rich got richer, the poor got poorer. Well, in today's world, it's not exactly true. The rich are getting exponentially richer, and everybody else is getting richer too, but the spread between the two of them is greater. And especially with the advances in technology, here's what I'm concerned about. It's that technology is advancing exponentially, and but ethics and morality and philosophical principles are not only not advancing, I don't think, but they might be degrading.
It's a dangerous combination.
That's a very dangerous combination. Chimpanzees with nuclear weapons,
Right,
and actually things more dangerous than nuclear weapons are on the way.
Yeah, that is scary. Did you happen to catch Jim Grant's talk out there?
I did. He was subtly amusing. I mean, it's very wry wit he employs.
Yes.
Yeah, I did. It was good.
I like that. I like his comments about the natural rate of interest, and that's something that only a PhD economist can observe.
Yeah.
So many things that were really funny in his talk. Let's talk about the book. Obviously, you have a series of books. You're working toward the next one, and it's Assassin. This is going to be good. And where does that stand right now?
We're about 6 months away from completing Assassin, and the readers of Speculator and Drug Lord are quite enthusiastic. I'm very pleasantly surprised that other people, besides myself and my co-author John Hunt, like it. So in Assassin, where Charles decides that there are really just some people that need killing. I've been of that opinion myself for quite a while. So we're going to explore the morality of political assassination.
Right.
Very controversial, hot topic.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine.
yeah, we're going to explore the practical techniques of doing so, and we're going to explore famous assassinations in history, and who is the good guy, who is the bad guy. Was Lincoln a good guy? Should he have been killed? How about Caesar? And many, many others. And I think this is going to make it rather intellectually stimulating, in addition to being kind of a variety of murder mystery.
Are you hooked on writing fiction now? This is your third one.
Because you can say things in fiction that you'd best not say in nonfiction.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Number one. And number two, it's a different audience of people, different group to some degree than read fiction and nonfiction. So that's good. And yeah, I think so. You got to fill those idle hours somehow, Albert.
You know, I was just thinking, depending on which way this interview goes, we might have to like put a cartoon, and then we could get away with a cartoon of us. We could maybe get away with saying more than we could in a video format.
Well,
just like
if
The
I
Simpsons
say if I say anything that's too politically incorrect, I mean, I'm sure it'll wind up on the cutting room floor because Sprott's a big corporation.
That's right.
But and it wouldn't be The Simpsons that I love. I like South Park even more.
Okay. Last question. I want to talk to you about The International Man. It's the book was a favorite of mine. Then you had the blog. Now you're going through some changes again, right? You're taking it in a different direction.
I've acquired the blog International Man from my friends at Stansberry, and we're going to try to make it something very special and interesting. So all you folks out there in listener and watcher land, go to internationalman.com and sign up, and I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. And also, I'm going to redo that book, The International Man, which came out an embarrassingly long time ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
But actually, not only has the world changed a lot in that time, but I've actually learned a lot. So it's going to be a pretty good book when we come out with the redux of it. But the internationalman.com blog is going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, Doug, it's always great to talk to you. Thanks for joining me once again.
As always, Albert. Thank you.
Appreciate it.